Your stories don't define you, but how you tell them will. Hi, I'm Sarah Elkins, your host and chief story maker at Elkins Consulting. Whether you're sharing personal stories or business stories, the way you share a story and the story that you choose to tell influences your own experience of yourself and your internal messages and internal dialogue and how other people perceive you. Whatever you do and whatever you say sends signals to the people around you and also to your internal self-knowledge. So be aware of the stories you're sharing, be aware of the signals you're sending, and be intentional about it. Today's guest, Anne-Catherine Bedard, I met through another guest on my podcast. I believe it was Anne Plaisance that introduced us. Is that correct?
So I know Anne and I know you did as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All artists.
Yes.
Which is very exciting. I love speaking with artists because they always have a more curious approach to things than most people I know. And I think there are a lot of people who are artists, but they just don't see that as a label for themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to chat with you. So the first thing I like to do is ask my guests to share something about themselves that most people might not know about them. And I do that because we have a tendency to anchor people in one experience with them. So whether that's a face-to-face conversation or something they post online, we tend to just see them as that person without acknowledging the complexity of who we are as human beings. So I'd love for you to share something about yourself that most people might not know.
Yeah. I think I was thinking deeply before coming here, and you know how we tend to define ourselves with labels. And I was trying to find a definition of myself that wouldn't include my job title, that I'm a parent. So I will say, we started by saying, "Oh, you're an artist." That's very new to me, and I think what people maybe don't know is how creative I am, how like wild my imagination is, and how really it affects all parts of my life, my work, and now that I get to expand this in art is beautiful. So, yeah.
That does surprise me. I guess I made an assumption that this has been a part of your life for a long time.
It has. It was just hidden. I was, it
Isn't
was
that
kind of
funny?
like, yeah, because I'm a chemist by training. I studied a long time. I've always been like an athlete, and I already that was already like a full plate, you know? And I knew that I loved art and color and expression, but I kind of kept it inside. I knew it was kind of like a little superpower, but I still hid it until recently where I just couldn't anymore. It just had to come out. So, yeah.
Ah, I love that. And I love that as a label of choice. And I say that because many years ago, I rented space at a clay art studio,
Mm,
and I had access to wheels and all kinds of hand building and
okay.
glazes and kilns. And I took a couple classes, but I had that space for 13 years building
Wow.
pieces out of clay, almost all functional work, but decorative.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't use it as a bowl or a cup or a plate, I didn't understand the purpose. I like functional art.
Yeah.
But I remember this one time I had had this studio space for at least 4 years. I had given away countless pieces of my pottery as I progressed and got better at it.
Yeah.
And I went to a friend's birthday party, and she had hired a medium to read palms as like
Okay.
a treat, as a gift to us.
Okay.
And I thought that was pretty funny because it's never been something that I put a lot of thought into or
Yeah.
trust. And I wasn't going to go sit, but she was very insistent that I go and sit with this woman because she's so
Okay.
insightful. And I thought, well, even if she's simply observing, I can learn something from that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be some magical expertise, right? So she she opened my palm, and I remember this moment. She said, "What kind of art do you do?"
Hmm.
And I said, "What?" She goes, well, you're an artist, so what's your medium?
Wow.
And I said, oh, I'm not an artist. And she said, hmm, I'm not sure that's true. And it took me a long time during the conversation to come to this idea that an artist isn't a particular definition, that I have to go with somebody else's definition of what an artist is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Huh. And that's where you are now, is that exploration of the word artist as label.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't study art or anything, right? I my medium is paint of all sorts. So I could say I'm a painter, but then I never started. I always went straight to artist because I think it's in your soul. It doesn't matter. Even when I do science, I assemble molecule. There's an art to that. So I'm just that's what felt right to me. I never defined myself as a painter, even though that's my medium for traditional art, as we would
Mhm.
say. So yeah.
Absolutely. There's one of my good friends, Caroline Brookfield, talks about creativity. She's a great keynote speaker and workshop facilitator. And she wrote a book called The Reluctant Creative. And it would have been a book that would have been perfect for you about 5 years ago, I think.
Yes.
And it really talks about how we are all creative. The
Yeah.
question is how. And you
Yeah.
were finding creativity in other outlets.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I this is I'm at home right now. This is a sunroom, but it's also my office. And I have a few things that are kind of precious to me around. And back there's a table. So a couple years ago I like dabbled into woodworking, which a lot of people would consider some like artistry, but it was just I found a log in the forest and we were far, we were hiking, and I'm like, I need this log. It speaks to me. It's going to be a table. And my husband was like, you know how far we are from the car? I'm like, it doesn't matter. I will roll it. But the bark was so beautiful that I wanted it intact. So he carried it for me. And since then, like I never thought of that as art. It was just, oh, I'm making a side table. Like it's not, but it is. It's a big deal because yeah, I loved it and I created something out of a trunk that was like in a forest. So yeah, there's always
Salvaged.
yeah, yeah. So I definitely reluctant creative over here.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I love the story of carrying this log out, or your husband graciously carrying it out for you, because there's something so, well, first of all, raw, literally this raw
Yeah.
material, but also this raw vulnerability in saying, this is what I need, and I'm going to find a way to fill it, to fill that need.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so many like I have two young daughters. They're like 3.5 and almost 5. And when I started like painting heavily, I needed more space. So I took over a whole garage, which is a double garage. And now it's winter. Like you saw the snow, it's Michigan. So my oldest, she's like, Mom, we used to have a parking garage. Now we have an art garage. And she's like, we're going to clean this up because we need to park the car back in here. And it's just the reality. It's funny, right? Because it's just, yeah, you need space. You take the space and we figure it out, you know? So it's just, yeah, very
I love
supportive.
that she noticed that this
Oh,
shift in the use of space. And you know what's especially interesting about that story is that you are modeling so many aspects of freedom, novelty, creativity, reimagining. You're
yeah,
modeling all this for these little girls that you don't, even if you have a garage, you don't have to park your cars in it. It doesn't
no,
have to be for the purpose it was built.
yeah. Yeah. You could not have said it better. Like one time we were just playing, like I was painting, they were I don't know, just around in Michigan front yard garage thing. And she looks at me and she goes, "Mom, are you a chemist or are you an artist?" And I'm like, well, I'm both. And she's like, okay, I want to be both too, and a ballerina. And I'm like, absolutely. You can be everything. And it just made complete sense to her. And I really hope that this stays forever, that like you don't have to pick. You can just be all the things that your heart desires, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And we choose our labels rather
Yeah.
than having them labeled on us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's not because I don't paint today that I'm not an artist. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's, yeah, there's misconception that sometimes life gets busy and there's things to do. You still are that in your soul. So, yeah.
I once asked the question, does it have to be profitable to be professional, or what was the word, for a dream? So if I wrote a blog post about a dream I never knew I had, and it doesn't have to have income to say that
No.
I've fulfilled that dream.
Yeah,
Huh.
absolutely.
So, oh, go ahead.
No, I think you and I were meant to talk because um I found this website and they put art that people make on clothings and bags and accessories. And it's not AI, like it's a real person who makes it so it looks good. And I'm like, okay, I'll just upload a few of my pieces, see what it looks like. And one of them is just, it's beautiful. It was kind of meant to be fabric. And I bought it. I bought like a sports shirt and a bag, and just a couple things. And when I put it on, it's like I never knew I had this dream to have and I looked in the mirror and I just loved it so much that it was kind of like, a dream so crazy you don't even know you have it. And then it just happens because things fall into place and you're open to it. And I was like, that's insane. I never knew I had this dream. And now I have this shirt with my art on it. And it's just, yeah,
It's so satisfying
it
when you
was,
have something
yeah,
that you made show up in that way. I
it was
think
crazy. Yeah.
I remember when I used to throw pots and I would drink coffee out of a mug that I
Oh,
made,
mm,
or eat cereal out of a bowl that I made.
yes.
And the same thing for the garden. If I
Yes.
make pesto out of the basil that grew in my garden, there's
100%.
something
Yes.
very satisfying about that. So, oh my gosh, I love this idea of taking your design and
Yeah.
making functional work out of it, because not everybody can have a giant painting on their wall.
No.
If
Yeah,
they're living in an apartment, maybe they can't hang stuff on the wall. Um,
exactly.
and you can't, most of us can't afford original paintings. Um, so, when you think about this transformation, your whole career is around chemistry and science
Yes.
and what people consider those hard skills, as
Yeah.
opposed to the relationship building and creative, even though I think there's way more
Yes. Yeah.
overlap there. Um, what was a time when you realized that this was the direction you're going, where you can look back now and go, oh, it
Yeah.
was when I did this or when I had this conversation that it started to really move forward?
You mean with the art piece
Mhm.
or
With the
yeah.
art side of what you're doing now.
Oh, I have a very precise moment. Um, I think it had been building for years, but um I'm very stubborn, so I didn't listen for a while. And the past summer, I was off of work because I had wrist surgery. So I was like, I'm not like there's only so much TV you can watch. I need to find something to do with myself and I cannot like be running around. So I decided I'll just do an adult coloring book. It's gonna be like soothing and it's gonna like distract me. It's gonna be and I bought a cute one and new crayons and I was excited. And I sit down and I start coloring. And instead of feeling like relaxation and peace, I was growing like angrier by like the minute. And I'm like, why am I mad at this coloring book? Like, what is going on? And then I realized the expectation of filling someone else's lines was still there. And I'm like, I had my whole life trying to fit in what a scientist should look like, what a mother should look like, what is expected, what box we need to fit in. And I'm like, I cannot for a single second more try to color these lines that someone else made because it was it was a metaphor, but I needed that kind of wake up to do it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do my own coloring. I'm like, I'm not expecting it to be good, but as soon as I started putting color on paper, it was just, I couldn't stop. It was just years of emotion that needed to be processed. And now that like it's all out in color and in canvas and in clothing now, and now I'm in the process of putting words to these feelings that I process. So if you would have asked me 6 months ago to have this discussion, I could not have because I didn't have that realization. So I actually kept that coloring book and I epoxied it so I can it's half finished. It's and I'm gonna keep it forever as a reminder that I choose my path, right? It's very important to me.
Oh my gosh. The feeling of liberation
Yeah,
from coloring in the lines.
yeah, absolutely. The freedom of being like, I'm gonna do my own line, my own way, which honestly I had been. It's just not loudly. You know what I mean? When
I
you're,
did.
I was feeling like I was true to myself, but internally, and that's not enough. We all have to be loudly authentic for other people to have space to be themselves as well. And
Again,
that-
back to modeling, because your daughters won't do it unless they see you doing it first.
absolutely, absolutely. So it was, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
very distinct time.
that's such a great moment in time. Like just
Yeah,
knowing, oh my gosh, I don't want to color in someone else's lines anymore.
yeah, yeah.
That is, that's the quote of our episode today. I don't want to color in someone else's lines anymore.
Absolutely. And it's funny because since then I've made coloring books. And even then when I color them, I have more freedom drawing the frame because if someone else like a lot of people find it very soothing, which is
Mhm.
fantastic. It's just I like to provide the frame. I don't like to color my own coloring book because I did my piece of this. It's
Mhm.
something else. And I think a lot of people um that are artists are very perfectionist, even scientists, right? It's a big theme that a lot of us feel that we're not going to do it if it's not going to be good. But because I was doing it for passing time, for just I had zero expectation. I'm like, I'm not going to be good, and it doesn't matter if it makes me happy. And when it started to be good, I'm like, oh, what I made Monday, beautiful. What I made Tuesday, genuinely not so good. I paint over. It doesn't matter. And that liberation that it's okay to not be perfect, right? It's okay to do things for enjoyment and healing and the freedom. That was a big realization also.
Have you found that you have continued that in your work life, being able to set aside that perfection because you're applying what you're learning through art to the rest of your life?
Yeah. I had to do a lot of thinking though, because in science, we're like, well, we have to be very precise, very meticulous. So it's like, well, if I let go of perfection, am I going to be a good scientist? But then what I realize is that there's a big difference between striving to do your best, which is excellence, and trying to be perfect, because nothing is ever going to be perfect. And there's excellence and there's perfection. And I decided to let go of perfection and strive for excellence, which is the best we can do at any given time. And that was a big, big, big mind shift. Yeah.
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I didn't realize until just gosh, probably a couple years ago, um, how fortunate I am that that's never been how my brain works. That I just fly by the seat of my pants, and if I fail, then I'll try something else, or maybe I'll
Yeah.
try that again. And I've never been beholden to an outcome
Yeah.
necessarily. In the last couple of years, when I've decided on an outcome that this is what I want to do, then I can find myself to be very disciplined to get there, but I'm still not necessarily devoted to what happens next.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when you have a goal, let's say your goal is to buy a house, which is a lot of people can have. It doesn't matter if it's not that exact house in that exact month in that exact, it's just you start to build the pieces towards that.
Mhm.
Life is going to go left and right where life is going to be. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be, and even if you buy the exact house that you want on the exact day that you want, there's going to be a mouse in the basement, a roof, there's going to be something. And I think being adaptable and resilient while having a big picture aligned with our values is very important. And I think there's a big difference between, yeah, yeah,
Hmm. So you've mentioned your daughter,
yeah,
your older daughter saying, can we use the garage for cars now? It's winter time, and all this modeling for your daughters. Have you heard anything from them that confirmed something for you? Like every once in a while, I've been doing StrengthsFinder work for workplace communication improvement for
okay,
years now.
yes,
And just recently, my husband was talking to some of our friends, and he started talking about how using the language he learned about his talents has helped him um, really fine tune his job with his employers and his team
yeah,
to be doing the things that his brain does best.
yes,
And when he was telling that story, it was like this huge confirmation for me that because he's analytical, very science based,
yeah,
and skeptical. And here we are 7 years into this experience, and
hmm,
he is all in, and it's changed his life. And I had never heard him tell that story.
yeah,
And hearing that was like this huge confirmation for me because he's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And if he believes it, if he
yeah.
is recommending it to other people,
That's beautiful.
so what
That's
have you heard
huge.
from your daughters in that way that have been those confirmation moments?
Yeah. Oh, there's one big one in particular. So, often when it was summer, I would just set up like a few canvas for them, and we would paint together and play music. And one time, it ended up just being myself and my oldest daughter. And because it was just her and I took away like the tempera washable paint. I gave her like real acrylic, and I shared my good paint brushes and all of that. And I gave her like a mini easel that was cute. So she was next to me, and she's very like guarded. Like whenever I try to like connect, like she will like monkey it out and just like she's very introverted, which is completely fine, but it's hard because I want to know her, right? I want to uh talk to her and know that it's a safe space. And I was painting quietly, and she was painting quietly, and then she started talking. And because her body was being free and just doing the things in an environment where she had like the real thing, like she had the real tool, she was grown up, like she was entrusted with things, and there was no pressure, right? I was like side by side, and I had more insight into her little being in 20 minutes of her painting than in the past year. So I'm like, I can never, never lose this because it was so beautiful. And it took me a lot to not be like, ooh, tell me more, to just be like, keep the energy just calm and just welcome whatever she's gonna
Let it
say.
flow. Don't
Yeah,
try to structure it.
absolutely.
Oh my gosh, that's a
Absolutely.
huge lesson.
It was, yeah, it was a lot. And one of the thing I told you, I kept that painting, that coloring book page. The painting that she made was a self-portrait that day, and I kept it. And I basically epoxied my art table with a couple things, including that. And she's like, "Oh, I wanted it on the fridge." I'm like, "No, this is better than the
This
fridge.
is permanent. This is
This is
permanent.
forever. I'm keeping this, because I can never lose this." And another thing that I've learned is your children, they listen to everything. And the way you talk about yourself is the way they will talk about themselves, right? So
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if I tell her she's smart if I don't tell myself that I'm smart. And now that I see them, like, they copy, like, "Oh, I have strong muscles, I can move this," or like, "I'm such a good artist, look at this, what I did." And I'm like, "Oh, I made this puzzle, I'm so clever." I'm like, "Yeah, yes, you are." And I, whenever I, there's kind of a stigma to like tell yourself positive things out loud in front of others. Like in the morning, I dry my hair and I do their hair, and I'm like, "You know what? Very beautiful today." And she's like, "Yeah, me too." And I'm like, "Yes, you are. Yes, you are." And I'm really, even if it's like some days it's not easy, right? But doing that with intention loudly for them to hear
Mhm.
is super important. Yeah.
I just had that conversation with my mom, and she just
Oh,
turned 79 in September. And she came to visit me in Montana, and we went for a hike. And it was a long hike on a mountain with elevation
okay.
gain, and she comes from sea level to
Yeah.
visit me. And, on the last day, I said, "Mom, I'm really impressed. Like, over 2 days, we hiked almost 8 miles
Yeah.
together and on a
Wow.
mountain. It's
Yeah.
not easy hiking, and I'm really impressed. I'm proud of you, and you should be really proud of yourself." And she said, "Ugh, I just stopped too many times, catch my breath." And I looked at her and I said, "Thanks, Sarah. You're right. I'm a badass." And
Yeah.
she rolled her eyes like a teenager because she
Yeah.
knew I was giving her a hard time. But then in the next breath, I said, "Mom, if you dismiss your accomplishments like that, you're encouraging other women to dismiss theirs. And I don't think
Yeah.
you want to model that for your daughters and granddaughters.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to do that for
Absolutely.
us."
Yeah. It's it's so funny. First, it's amazing that your mom did that. It's truly amazing. So if she listens to this, yes.
She's amazing. She's an
Yes.
amazing woman.
Absolutely. It's funny because I had a similar conversation with my mom, and she's very critical. Like, we're all very critical, and I'm like, "Well, what's the last thing you're really proud of?" Like, we don't think about that. It's like, "Well, it was this, but blah 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 blah." I'm like, "No, no, 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 but this was great. Like, let's think about this for a second and appreciate what you've done." And that's something that I can do easily for others, but I still struggle with myself. That's why I practice, right?
Mhm.
It's so when I'm 79 and I hike 8 miles, I'll be like, "Yeah, that was cool," right? I'm really working to take the time to appreciate that, not
Mhm.
just move on to the next goal.
For sure. I just had that conversation with another friend as well, which is if we don't take time to recognize our accomplishments, then every time we step out of our comfort zone into our stretch zone, we have to remind ourselves of all that evidence that we can do it.
Yeah.
That the next thing is going to be something we can do. So it's so important for us to acknowledge what we've done, how we got to where we are,
Yeah.
so that we can look at that the next time we're stretching.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one of the things I was thinking a lot recently about, like, imposter syndrome, because it's like, well, yeah, I'm here, but this and that. And I realized all the little steps that we take to do things are little mundane, everyday. You wake up, you show up, you do your best. Yes, there's some bigger events, but most of the step of that ladder are small. And it's easy to overlook them because it's like, well, yeah, but it wasn't that bad once you get there. It's just you did all of that work, and the consistency and the dedication towards your future goal is what gets you there, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's easy to say, well, there was no big traumatic, right? I did I did a PhD in chemistry. Okay, it took like 5 years, but it's still every day you show up, you go to lab, you do something. Every day is the same, but at the end, it's huge,
Right.
right?
It didn't magically appear. Those
Yeah.
credentials didn't magically appear at the end of your name.
Exactly. So, but it's easy for me to see from like if I go to a thesis defense, I get so emotional for someone who like did this big thing. And at my thesis defense, I'm like, yeah, everyone does it, no? But no, no,
No,
right?
not everyone does it. Many,
Exactly.
many people never get to that point.
Exactly. But it's because we know which step we took. Like
Mhm.
your mom, she knew which steps she took. She knew when she took breaks. And yeah,
I hadn't thought of it quite like that in terms of the um, how many small steps it takes to get to that big accomplishment,
yeah,
even though I, we all know there's no such thing as overnight success. It's that building. The way that I've always thought about it is it's kind of like on a dimmer switch, just like our awareness of things. There's
yeah,
no one pivotal moment where the light goes on
yeah,
and bright. I
yeah,
truly believe there's this dimmer switch of awareness, self-awareness, awareness of the people and the environment around you. And it gradually comes brighter and brighter with those tiny steps that you're talking about
yeah,
until there's the big accomplishment. I just defended my thesis. I'm officially PhD.
yeah.
That light didn't just flick on
No,
like a light switch in your home. I
yeah,
I I wish more of us would talk about that in when we're talking to others, but we have to
yeah,
talk about it as it's happening. We can't I mean, how many people say, "Oh, I did this and here's how I got there." And they talk about all those steps. But what if we talk about it as we're doing it?
yeah,
What if like when I was going through my MBA program, I my boys were in 4th grade and 6th grade, and I remember
mm,
sitting at the dining room table because I didn't have an office. We only have 3 bedrooms in our home,
mm,
and we have 2 kids.
yeah,
So we didn't have an office for me. So I'd sit at my dining room table to study, or I'd go to the library. I studied at work because I was working full time.
yeah,
But I remember sitting at the dining room table. It was after school, and the boys got home and they were doing their homework while I was doing my homework.
yeah,
And they saw it. They saw me putting in the work
mhm,
and they
yeah,
acknowledged it. We all acknowledged it. Oh, we're all doing homework together. It wasn't,
yeah,
pretending like that wasn't happening. And I think that makes a really big difference for people to see that they can do it too.
yeah, absolutely. I think absolutely because I'm still this is something that's still active in my brain loop. I call like when you have many tabs open in your internet browser. It's like you that's
My
my
brain
brain
does
loop. I
that
just
too.
click the different tabs and I rotate.
Where am I now?
Yeah,
Which tab am I on?
which tab? This is something that this tab's been open in my mind for a while, and I'm still trying to exactly like you said, like figure out what's the best way to share that while we're doing it, because we're all going somewhere. It's right. So
And
yeah,
some people are really good at it, like the people who are on Instagram that are showing how they renovate a house, renovate an
yeah,
old house, and they take the before pictures and then they take the during pictures and they take the after videos. And so you can see the progress that they're making. What
yeah,
if, and honestly, I think if we are less self absorbed with our own journey, we can see those journeys all around us. I know just the other day, when a friend of mine that was visiting from out of town gave me a big hug goodbye. And she said, I have loved watching your progress.
oh
It's so cool to see all these steps you've taken over the years to
yeah,
get to where you are now. So people do notice.
yeah, 100%. I think I would argue in like the Instagram house reno, even when you see the whole process, they're not going to do a lull of like 2 months where they lost their concrete contractor, right? And
Right.
then
Right.
because it's going
They
to be
couldn't get the
like
windows installed because they couldn't arrive on the
exactly.
truck or
Exactly. And that's because you're like, oh, and then you're like, well, I can do renovation. And then you don't get your windows installed. And you're like, why is it so hard for me? It's hard for everyone. It's just that we just try to show everything with a bow, right?
Mhm.
There's kind of two sides. Like either you're going to show it from beginning to end, tight with a bow, it's going to be beautiful, or if what I've seen is people who share some of the negative, it becomes very negative, not constructive, not like, well, this happened and like we've had a sand pit in our backyard for 2 months and it was fine. And now we have a pad. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
it's like, oh, this contractor's not good, blah blah blah. It gets negative as opposed to just that's
This is part
life.
of the journey.
There's gonna be
Yeah.
something, right? And sharing that in
Hmm.
just a you're still on track,
Right.
but it's not the house you wanted. There's a mouse in the basement. It's fine, right?
I
It's
love that attitude. It's kind of like when you're traveling and there inevitably something's going to go sideways. And it's
yeah,
how you choose to handle it. When we traveled with our boys when they were little, it was always like, oh, our flight's delayed, so we're going to figure out something else to do.
yeah,
And like it was always just part of the adventure. And I think that's part of why our boys are so adventurous now because
yeah,
they're not afraid of things going wrong because it's just
yeah,
part of the journey.
exactly. Like I keep thinking about your mother. Like, how many times would it have been okay to stop and be like, "Yeah, I rocked this." Is it zero time? Is it one time? Is it four? Like,
I hadn't thought of that. What's your definition of success?
yeah.
Is it not to stop at all?
Did you not get on top of that mountain? Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Identifying that. I think a lot about taking inventory and defining success
Yeah,
um, so that it's not associated with a particular outcome
yeah, yeah,
necessarily. Ah,
yeah.
I love that. So, as you move forward in your exploration as an artist, what's next for you? What's the story that you're going to be telling a year from now about your art?
So I think the core message that will anchor always everything is authenticity. And just, I want, whether people like the art that I make or don't, it doesn't really matter. It's about the message. I want, by me being, by me creating and being authentic, it trickles into all aspects of my life. And what I want is for that to snowball. I want my daughters to be authentic. I want it to affect my husband, my coworkers, my friends. That's what I want. And I and if all my paintings are in the basement and no one sees them, it doesn't matter because they're in my heart. They were part of the process. Obviously, I love it. I gift them like some, but I just want that. When the wheel turns, like you go to bed late, you don't wake up to go to the gym, so you're tired, so you go to bed. Like I want the wheel to turn positive. I want I want the I yeah, I want the snowball to be positive for the world. Yeah.
So maybe a story would be that at some point during the year, you have a conversation with a total stranger that has been watching your journey or listened to this episode and
Yeah.
then watched your journey, and they get in touch with you and say, you inspired me to bring my authentic self to work. And this is how it changed for me.
Yeah. This already
That's a
happened.
story.
Yeah,
It did.
it did. I have two of my coworkers. One, I she had to move to New York for family reasons, so she's far away, and she actually wrote me a thank you for the new year, saying how grateful she was that I was sharing all of that and how inspired she was. Um, just fantastic. And another one is a close friend in town who's also an artist, and he's like, I made this Instagram and I posted nothing. because he was like, I don't want to share my art. And I'm like, your art is beautiful. And even if it's not, it doesn't matter. We want to see it. I want to see it. And he was like, okay,
It's going to
I'll
speak
do
to
it.
someone.
Exactly. And he's
And
like, if
you have to
you
be
do it,
ready for
I'll
the
do
one
it.
that it doesn't.
Exactly.
But yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely.
So I want more. And it doesn't have to be me because now they're empowered. So they're their own little thing, right? I want their brothers and their spouses
So,
to, yeah,
so maybe the story is one of these people that you inspired, they come back to you and say, "You inspired me. And then I had this conversation with my son,
yes,
and he did this because of it."
that would be,
That's your snowball. There's
that
one of
would
the
be,
stories you'll hear by the end of
yes,
next year.
that would be beyond, like, I have chills right now, literal chills. Yes, that is the story. Yes, yes,
I
yes, yes.
love that. Um, just a quick aside, one of
Yeah.
the things that brought me great comfort as I published my book back in 2020 was I was sitting next to my husband the night before the launch.
Yeah.
And I said, I realize I've been having these nightmares because I'm afraid you won't like my book. And you haven't
Mhm.
read any of it. I haven't given you any of it. You haven't asked for any of it. And now it's published.
Yeah.
I have this box, a case of books, and all these pre-ordered books that I'm shipping
Yeah.
out. What if you don't like it? And he
Yeah.
said, I'll still be proud of you. This is a major accomplishment
Yeah.
to publish a book. And he said, I may not be your audience, and that's okay, because I
Yeah.
know that what you're doing and what you write will make a difference for other people. I may not be
Absolutely.
your audience. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he
That,
still he still loves me. Like, it's
yeah.
not gonna have an impact
Yeah.
on our relationship. He just
No.
maybe he's not my audience.
And that's fine.
It was so empowering. I was like,
Yeah.
that's true. And the first time I got a review that wasn't rave, I was like, oh, that's okay. He's not my audience.
Exactly. This is not your people. You need to find your people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. I love that. That is a wonderful story to be telling in the
Yeah.
future. And you'll
Yes.
be able to tell that story
I
when
hope
people say,
so.
what do you do? And you'll say, oh, well, here's this experience I had with my art.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I love that. I love that for both of us.
Yes, for sure. And Catherine, this has been such a pleasure. Listeners, just so you know, we will have links to Catherine's website and all the other links that she provided to me in the show notes associated with this podcast episode at elkinsconsulting.com. So, Catherine, thank you so much for joining me on Your Stories Don't Define You. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me. You have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Listeners, now it's your turn. What will you do with your insights from this conversation? Will you choose to color outside of the lines or to make your own lines? Will you choose to simply color within those lines just to express your own need for color, for some form of relaxing? Because it can be a great tool. But if you are driven, if you are compelled to stop coloring inside someone else's lines, I want to know what that looks like for you. Send me a message, get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
You must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.